Airlines are starting to cut flights because fuel prices are getting too expensive, and that sounds like an airline problem until you realize what it means for everyone else. Fewer flights mean fewer seats mean higher ticket prices mean families get priced out of trips, businesses pay more to move people, and smaller cities start losing routes first. That is what happened when jet fuel stops being a background cost and starts reshaping the entire travel system. Reuters reports that global airline leaders are now heading into a major industry summit with fuel prices, airspace disruption, and route cuts at the center of the crisis. Moody's has already downgraded the global airline sector's outlook to negative, with profit declines of more than 35% projected for the year. This is not theoretical anymore. American Airlines is temporarily suspending some summer routes because of steep jet fuel costs. The company says affected passengers will be rebooked or offered refunds, but the important part is the trend. Airlines are starting to remove flights that no longer make financial sense. Lufthansa has announced massive cuts too, with AP reporting the airline group is cutting 20,000 short-haul flights through October because soaring fuel costs are squeezing supply and operating costs. Indigo is also cutting international service, including suspending flights to several overseas destinations as it deals with weak demand and rising operating costs tied to fuel prices. Reuters also reported Indigo swung to a major quarterly loss after surging fuel costs hit margins. And that is the part people should actually care about. Airlines do not cut flights evenly. They protect the routes that make money, they protect the hubs, they protect premium travelers. The flights that disappear first are usually the weaker routes, smaller markets, off-peak flights, cheaper leisure routes, and flights where passengers are more price sensitive. So when fuel prices spike, the system does not just get more expensive, it gets smaller. And a smaller airline network gives passengers fewer options. That means fewer direct flights, worse layovers, fuller planes, higher fares, more fees, and less competition. Because if an airline removes a route, you do not just lose one flight, you lose pressure on every other airline serving that market. That is how a fuel shock turns into a consumer problem. The airlines will say they are managing costs, and technically they are. Jet fuel is usually one of the biggest expenses airlines face, and when prices jump, airlines have only a few options: raise fares, add surcharges, cut routes, reduce capacity, delay growth, or try to pass the pain directly to passengers. And that is already happening. Air France KLM has been responding to a multi-billion-dollar fuel cost surge by raising ticket prices, cutting spending, and reducing growth plans. ITA Airways says it will not cut flights, but it still expects to raise ticket prices 5 to 10% to offset fuel costs. So even when airlines do not cancel flights, consumers can still get hit through higher prices. This is the bigger story behind the travel headlines. The airline industry spent years training people to think cheap flying was normal. Budget carriers, discount routes, nonstop flights, and low base fares made air travel feel accessible, but that model only works when fuel, labor, aircraft debt, and demand all stay manageable. Once fuel costs spike, the weakest routes get exposed first, then low-cost carriers get squeezed, then airlines consolidate schedules, then passengers pay more for fewer options, and eventually flying starts shifting back towards what it used to be, something more expensive, less flexible, and less available to regular people. That is why this is not just about vacation prices, it is about how fragile modern transportation really is. One fuel shock can ripple through airlines, airports, tourism, business travel, cargo, small cities, and family budgets, and the public usually only notices when the flight they want disappears or the ticket suddenly costs twice as much. So when airlines say they are trimming capacity because fuel costs are rising, understand what that really means. They are not just cutting flights, they are shrinking access, and when access shrinks, everyone left in the system pays more.